Ashley, I'm ready whenever you are. Looks like we're streaming and
Okay, I'm ready too.
awesome. Okay, I am going to call the Public Works Committee to order. We continue to meet via Zoom. If you're joining us via Zoom, please use your raise and lower hand feature to let us know that you would like to participate and provide public comment. Oh, I just lost my other screen. Okay. If you are joining us by phone, you can lower and raise your hand by pressing 9 and start 6 to mute and unmute. You can always call City Council by calling 406-552-6012. You can email us at council@ci.missoula.mt.us. And all these meetings are recorded and can be accessed via YouTube and MCAT. With that, if we could get a roll call, please, Ashley.
Anderson,
She's absent.
Becerra,
Present.
Contos,
Here.
Harp, Hess,
Present.
Jones,
Present.
Merritt,
Present.
Ramos, Cheryl, Vasika,
Present. Amber, sorry, my unmute wasn't working. Amber.
oh, okay, gotcha, thank you. Von Lossberg,
Here.
West,
Here.
thank you.
Great. Thank you, Ashley. And we have minutes from 5:12 and 5:19 to approve. Are there any changes to those minutes? Okay, seeing none, those will stand approved. I see no public to provide public comment on items not on the agenda or general comment. So we will move right along to our first item on the agenda, and that's the Higgins Avenue Mill and Overlay Project reimbursement with the Montana Department of Transportation. And Brian Hensel is here to present.
Hello, good afternoon. Brian Hensel, Deputy Public Works Director for Streets. And this is Appendix C, which is part of our state maintenance agreement that allows the city to do work under that agreement for projects that go above and beyond normal street maintenance. And this is a project to mill and overlay on Higgins from Brooks to University Street, where we will completely mill out the existing asphalt surface and then also replace and upgrade 10 ADA ramps as part of the project. And I'm probably going to have to install a couple additional sumps too to make the drainage more functional. This one's kind of been on my list for some time. That section in front of Hellgate High School is known for its pothole proclivity, and it's difficult to fix. There's a sort of an impromptu cove gutter there along the curb lane, and it's difficult for cyclists to navigate those. So I'm really excited to get this project done. I cannot start work on it per MDT until after July 1. So assuming that the council approves this project, you'll start seeing our crew out there fairly soon after that. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but as always with these special projects, there's an opportunity for the city to generate revenue, and then also the community benefits from us getting a new street on a heavily used MDT route. So I would ask that the council give the mayor approval to sign it.
Great. Thank you, Brian. Couple of questions from council. Julie.
I don't have any questions as usual. Brian's usually always pretty clear about what we're getting here, and I just wanted to make the recommended motion.
Thank you.
Thank you, Julie. Sandra?
Julie took the words right out of my mouth. Brian's always really good, and I wanted to make the recommended motion as well. So thanks.
Maybe one thing I should note is we are going to start the concrete work during daylight hours. And I suspect we probably won't be able to mill and repave this until early next spring. And I will likely have to do that work at night so that we're minimally impacting the heavy traffic. And I didn't want to start on, it's actually good because I didn't want to start that concrete work in front of the school until school was out. So we have some time. That's such a busy street. So I may have no option but to do the majority of it at night when we start paving. But we'll see.
Great. But you will notify residents, or they'll know that this is happening and what to expect, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Great. And then after all the work is done and repainting has to happen, bike lanes and all of that will take place too?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Then, I'll certainly include our transportation group and decide if they want to do any configuration changes. And then we'll have to talk with MDT and see what we can do with it. But
Yep.
that likely won't occur till next summer.
Okay. Great, thank you. We have a motion on the floor and I see one attendee in the public. Let us know if you want to make a public comment on this item. I don't see that, so we'll go ahead and take a roll call vote, please, Ashley.
Sarah,
Yes.
Contos,
Yes.
Hess,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Merritt,
Yes.
Cheryl,
Yes.
Vasika,
Yes.
Von Lossberg,
Yes.
West.
Yes.
That is 9 yeses and 0 nos.
Great. Thank you, Brian, and that will go on our consent agenda.
Great. Thank you all very much.
And next we move to a resolution to adopt the East Missoula Highway 200 corridor plan, and John Sands here to present.
Hi, thank you. I'm going to share my screen if that is okay with everyone. I have a quick
Great.
PowerPoint I'm going to run through. All right, my name is John Sand. I'm a transportation planner with the Missoula Metropolitan Planning Organization. Here to present the resolution to adopt the East Missoula Highway 200 corridor plan. Just to spell out all the options for you folks today, these are the three action or motions you can make at the end of this presentation. So motion to adopt a resolution for the East Missoula Highway 200 corridor plan for the purpose of a complete, connected, and safe network for all modes of transportation along the East Broadway Highway 200 corridor, or deny the resolution for the corridor plan, or refer the resolution to a public hearing. So before I kick off, just a quick overview about the planning process. I want to thank the project team at WGM Group, Kate, Ann, and Stephen. Did a great job. We kicked off this plan at the beginning of last year, and so public engagement and outreach, of course, was adjusted to because of COVID restrictions. And so despite that, we still came out with a really great plan, really great public involvement. And so just a shout out to the project team at WGM Group. So for those of you that are not familiar with this planning area, this corridor plan stretches from Van Buren Street within city limits all the way out to Tamarack Road near West Riverside. So through the heart of East Missoula. And this is a really good example of why the MPO exists. So this is a corridor that is cross-jurisdictional. The western segment is mostly within city limits, and then we have the county for the East Missoula segment and eastern segment. So yeah, really important concept of, what the MPO does, just making sure there's coordination between the city and county, and because the city limits end doesn't mean that a corridor or folks using the corridor stop there as well. So yeah, just a quick overview of the planning area. And then our schedule for this process, as I mentioned, we kicked off in winter 2020, built off of previous planning work that had been done in the area. MDT's done some studies, and in 2015, there was the East Missoula Vision document that was created. And so really working off of previous planning work that had been done is where this plan kicked off and took it a step further. That process, and we were able to host one in-person open house before COVID. We also had an interactive wiki map where people could drop pins and comment on stuff. And then we had a lot of engagement on Facebook, and then email newsletters and partner newsletters and stuff like that. Into the spring and summer of 2020, design alternatives were created. And so this was just alternative designs based on project goals. And then we took those design alternatives to the public and advisory committee and got feedback on what components of those different design alternatives they liked and didn't like. This also involved a virtual open house, interactive maps, surveys. Because we had such a focused area for this plan, we did send out postcards twice to the entire East Missoula community, and then again, social media and email. So once those design alternatives were presented and we received feedback, the preferred alternative was presented in fall of 2020, which took different components from the design alternatives into a corridor plan that really met everyone's project goals. And again, a virtual open house, postcard mailer, and Facebook and email. And also during this entire process, we worked very closely with the East Missoula Community Council as well as the Bonner Community Council, meeting with them, if not every month, every other month, updating them on this process. And one of the silver linings of COVID is that we did have many virtual meetings and workshops that folks who might not have otherwise been able to participate were able to provide feedback. And so we felt like that public engagement process went relatively smoothly despite COVID. And then spring 2021 is for final plan adoption. And to notice that the MPO ran legal ads in the Missoulian 3 Sundays in February and 2 Sundays in March. We posted notices on the MPO website, social media, project email list, partner newsletters, and then again, a lot of engagement with the 2 community councils in this area. Some comments that we received during the draft plan comment period, and this is kind of a theme throughout the whole process, is consider shuttle service for floaters. And that's actually something that in reconfiguration of the Shawron parking lot, that's actually something that might be the first component of this project to be addressed. Folks were also curious why rapid rectangular flashing beacons were not proposed throughout the East Missoula corridor. And the reason for that is because the proposed design shortens those crossing distance and will make it a lot safer for pedestrians crossing the corridor. So RRFBs would not necessarily be needed in that environment. Rattlesnake Transportation Committee, they just had some comments about considering cycle tracks instead of bike lanes throughout the Hellgate Canyon. And then some design comments on best practices, how those can be designed. A lot of positive feedback about the roundabout at the interstate exit, and then a lot of emphasis on ensuring that complete walking and biking network extends the project length. Some updates we made from our comments we received, some from MDT about coordinating with them. The plan does propose moving bus stops, Mountain Line bus stops, from Speedway to Highway 200, and this would require coordination and approval from MDT. MDT would also need to, or coordination with MDT will also be needed for shared use path construction, making sure we're in alignment with their shared use path policy and best practices. So this plan was adopted by the Transportation Technical Advisory Committee on March 4th, 2021, and the Transportation Policy Coordination Committee on March 16th. And just last Thursday, the Missoula Board of County Commissioners approved this plan on June 3rd. So I'm here today to make a recommended motion. City Council adopts a resolution for the East Missoula Highway 200 corridor plan for the purpose of pursuing a complete, connected, and safe network for all modes of transportation along the East Broadway Highway 200 corridor.
Thank you, John. Let's see, do we have any questions from council members? If I can get my screen. Heidi, go ahead.
I just had a question about the, I guess the railroad bridge that is kind of in between the city of Missoula and East Missoula, and what, I know there was, what's, I guess, the proposed solution there for pedestrian and bike safety?
Yep, that's a great question, and right up there with shuttle service for floaters is a huge concern, if not higher. Definitely a extremely high safety concern. So the plan proposes for that, replacing that rail link bridge. And there is I didn't include it in this presentation just to keep it short, but there's a really nice rendering that is in the plan that shows sidewalks, shared use paths going along the corridor under that. A great thing about this plan is previous planning processes for this corridor didn't quite get to the planning level that this plan did. And so we do have high level cost estimates for all of the various project components. And so, for example, that railroad bridge replacement would cost around $10 million. So it's an extremely pricey project. And so funding for it currently hasn't been identified, but now that we have, the plan in place, literally a rendering, a vision of what the community would like it to see, puts us in a lot better position to work with RailLink to try to find a solution and identify funding to address that safety concern.
Thanks. Brian.
Thanks. I recall being in some conference rooms, a conference room with Commissioner Strohmeyer and others, Aaron Wilson and other folks in the very early days before we got this process going. And obviously a lot of interest in that area that Heidi just asked about. I did not foresee, I'm embarrassed to say, the shuttle service for floaters, but should have seen that coming. Anyway, I really appreciate the process that's gone on with this. As our communities grow, our connection along this corridor here becomes ever more important, and the safety and ability to use it via various modes becomes ever more important. So really glad to see this and happy to make the recommended motion.
Great, thank you. John, can you remind me the total price tag for all the components of the project?
Oh, I do not have that off the top of my head, but I am happy to get you that.
That's okay. I think what's important to remember too is that there's a independability of all these different components. So if we're able to get funding for one of them, that's only going to be making progress to achieving the entire project to be completed at some point. But it is an expensive project, and I think this is one of the first steps to making that reality happen is to have a plan, a vision adopted so that we know what to be asking for and looking out for in terms of funding. So very
Yeah, and
that this is moving along.
yeah, this adoption won't commit the city to any funding. It will just the implementation has recommendations on potential funding sources for these different types of projects. Just because the corridor is, pretty diverse and different opportunities there.
For sure. Julie.
Thanks. Even though this is a WGM project, I don't feel conflicted at all in voting on this. So I just wanted to note that for the record that I'm going to vote on it. And just to speak quickly to Merita's question, does this also just provide a plan that we would expect developers to follow whenever there's construction of any new developments within this corridor?
That's a great question. So yeah, there's a lot of rezoning discussion going on in East Missoula. And so we're looking forward to having this adopted by both city and council. So when current planning is looking at rezoning proposals, they can point to this plan and as an example, for the vision of the corridor, and particularly within the core of East Missoula, that's going to be really important.
Yeah, a quick follow-up, if I may, Merita. I've heard from some folks that live in the East Missoula area and concern about, and granted this is outside of council's purview, but concern about the kind of unknown factor as individual, private developers start working on projects. I mean, I'm excited to see this plan get adopted so that those folks have a little more certainty in potentially what is, how their community is going to develop in regards to this transportation corridor. So thank you all for your hard work.
Great point. Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. I will call for public comment on this item if there is any. And seeing none, let's take a roll call vote. Ashley, please.
Becerra,
Yes.
Contos,
No.
Hess,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Merritt,
Yes.
Cheryl,
Yes.
Vasika,
Yes.
Von Mossberg,
Yes.
West,
Yes.
that is 8 yeses and 1 no.
And John, are you okay with this going on the consent agenda?
Yes.
John Contos.
Oh, sorry. I'm like, I don't know.
Yes.
Okay. Great. So we have this adopted. It'll be on our consent agenda. Thank you so much, John, for the presentation and all your work on this. I'm excited to have this step of the process done, and now we know how much money and where to look for that money. So I appreciate it.
Yep. Thanks for having me.
Okay. And that was our last item on the agenda. So with that, we would be adjourned. Thank you, everyone.